Coffee and Pan Dulce. How's that? Coffee and Pan Dulce.
And I'm a community advocate here in South Charlotte. If I had my buttons on today, it would be, let's get some gun control. I'm tired of looking at the news and seeing this. Black Lives Matter in honor of our friend Joel. And let's have equal rights for everybody.
This is James Gunn. I am a community advocate here in Charlotte, North Carolina for LGBT women's rights with the National Organization for Women, gun sense laws with Moms and Men Action, and anything that extends equity to all. Thank you.
Christian Cano, you're the co-host. My buttons are Moms and Men Action, gun sense legislation, healthcare for all, Medicare for all, and also in my heart, Black Lives Matter on behalf of Joe Oldham, who's a guest of ours who passed away last year. That's it.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. It is a Coffee and Pan Dulce time. Almost said it wrong again. It is the last Wednesday of the month already. If you're seeing this, stop it, or it's pops up on your podcast platform. This is our last show of the month before we roll into August, and we're rocking it out. And know, Chris is undisclosed location. I'm broadcasting from a different studio because obviously you don't see a trans flag behind me like normal. And so very, very bizarre. So we like to shake it up in July and August. And how are you doing, babe?
Good. How are you? That's a beautiful painting you have back there, by the way. I just thought
it's gorgeous. Yeah. So
it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous.
My little dingy apartment.
Looks very familiar.
And
how's the weather? How's the weather back in Charlotte?
It's nice and miserable. We're having
nice
like most of the East Coast and most of the Midwest is covered up with the smoke from the Canadian wildfires as they're Canada's, this isn't part of our news segment, but Canada is actually mobilized the military to help out with the firefighting. And it's just a brutal, sign of a changed climate that Canada normally doesn't have to deal with this. But just like we've seen in the last 3 or 4 years, we saw those horrific fires in Australia that literally killed over 500 million animals and burnt down most of the foliage, most of the trees and forests of Australia. It was absolutely brutal. And I mean, you literally saw people wading into the ocean to get away from the fires. It's like we've seen in California many times in the last few years. We've seen wildfires in different states in Mexico last year. I think last year and the year before both had brutal forest fire that were just, I know several people that lost homes that live in New Mexico. And they had tons of civilians fighting for their lives, fighting for their neighborhoods. We had civilians next to firefighters and next to anybody else. They basically all band together, brought in firefighter states and things like that because the fires got so intense in New Mexico. One of my friends that got their house damaged in one of the fires was videotaping it. It looked like it didn't look
like a movie.
It looked like something from a movie, like one of those scary, movies.
Inferno movies or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's terrible. And I know you've talked about it quite often, and you talk about it on your show that drops after this one. But as Jenny mentioned, welcome everyone to Coffee and Pan Dulce. I'm Christian Cano, one of your co-hosts, along with Jenny Gunn. Barb Bacon is off today. She's doing her volunteer work around North Carolina somewhere. So we miss you, Barb. We want to thank those who are joining us on Facebook Live, but also those who join us on YouTube and the thousands who listen to us on your favorite audio podcast platform. Jenny, Barb's, I wish Barb was on. We can tell her this. Barb's viewer choice started the Florida shows off. Has already like 20,000 viewers and like 40,000 listeners. I don't know what we get on that one, but actually you and I carried that one, so we'll just mark it up to us. So
yeah, I can't remember what we talked about because I've slept since then. It was a few weeks ago. But it is funny. Yeah, and it's interesting what shows resonate with people. Especially listeners and viewers, because they're the ones that make this show. And, we're always thankful and grateful that people actually tune in. Because basically, Christian and I, especially when it's just us two, it's like a conversation with friends, and we're just kind of hanging out.
Heck, we had a half-hour conversation before we taped this one. So,
I mean, Christian and I are close friends outside of the show, and it's probably one of the reasons we've kept this show going is that we have a friendship and a bond, and we enjoy talking about stuff. We're also both very active in advocacy and politics and especially local politics. And so our topics usually are things we like talking about because it's good to talk about things we want to talk about. So we're almost semi-knowledgeable. It's pretty amazing.
Exactly. Well, as Jenny said, this is our last show of July, but we do have a couple of shows about the state of Florida, which is what this show is about. The title of this show is Florida's War on Drag and Disney, and we have a couple of special guests that will be on the show. Cece Labrie, I believe I'm pronouncing her name right. She's from Winston-Salem. She is a drag performer, and she is on this. And she see her show, and also the world famous Sushi will be on this show as well. And so those two will be on it. And but before we go into those segments, we're going to go directly into our Barb's current events.
And this is Barb's current events.
All right, so here we go. Jenny, how many do you want to do? You want to do 1, 2?
Up to you. I guess I can lead off with one, and then we can go ahead. Grab more if there's one that you like to talk about. But
you start.
I'll go ahead and set it up. Moms for Liberty. I'm pulling this from an article that ran in the Palm Beach Post, and Frank Cerebino in Palm Beach, Florida. So this is something that's relative to the Florida theme. Is that a local civil rights attorney is getting the Bible banned in Palm Beach County's public schools, and he's petitioned the court, and they have a hearing this week, and he just states that there's so much sexuality and violence, and it mentions masturbation and the dropping of semen like 300 and something times. There's incest. I mean, there's so much incest in there. The Bible rivals the state of Arkansas. I mean, there's literally there's more incest in the Bible than there is in Arkansas. That's pretty tough to do because the state's creed is a
good
fine.
Yeah.
Right now is very few, if you know what I mean. And so, true story. This is off the topic a little bit, but it's real quick. When I first moved to the Ozarks, so I lived in the Ozark Mountains in Branson, Missouri, which is only about 8 miles from the Arkansas border. There was a convenience store right across the street from where I moved into some corporate temporary housing. And the name of the store was Uncle Daddy's convenience store. Nothing's funnier than that. Like Uncle Daddy's, you know, that's what.
Was there someone playing a banjo in the front on the porch of the store? Just there were sex workers on meth and banjo players. It was their specialties. But their contention is that you know, there was so much violence. There's sexual violence. There's incest. There is murder. In the Bible.
Okay. In the Bible. Yeah. And the contention of the lawyer, and the lawyer's right, is that hey, if you have a book that has a kid's book that has two dads adopting a child can be banned, we sure as shit need to ban the Bible then. Because
exactly.
You know, these little illustrated books that they're banning just because there was a mention of LGBT sexuality, and this is what it was intended for. But because they wrote the law so vague, is that any mention of sexuality shouldn't be in the school library. Straight sex, sexual assault. Yeah. That's all the Bible's about, is about violence. It's literally about consequences of violence and how the nonviolent God, you know, drowns people in the Noah story. I mean, the Noah story is a story of flooding and genocide. You literally wiped out everybody on earth except for Noah and his family, which I don't know how that math works out. When you're talking about reproduction, speaking of incest, and a boatload of farm animals, and you know, so you're like, it's not really that good of a story, because when you think about it, it's kind of horrible. You know, like when they've adapted it into a movie, you see all these people outside of the ark drowning, and you're going, not something you really should be teaching kids, is that, hey, if you don't go by the rule, it's okay to drown people.
You made it. Yeah, you made a good point, Jenny. And I know we've talked about this over and over again, and I know I'm preaching to the choir with you, but for those listeners and followers who never watched this before, just the hypocrisy, and Cece said it perfectly when we take her segment for this show, just the hypocrisy, which is pretty normal for these kind of individuals, the Bible bigots, the hypocrisy, because if they truly were interested in getting sex out of elementary schools, or however they trying to spin it, then their arguments would be there should be no books with sex in them. But that's not what they say. That if their intent is so obvious and so clear to everyone, there should be no same-sex couples or no. So they don't really care about sex. They're just trying to get the gay out, and that's, I think, what makes it so disingenuous and makes them such shitty people. I mean, sorry to say it that way, but you know.
But it's the truth. And it's ironic that these Bible bigot Christians, these white Christian nationalists, their main tenet of their faith is that their God sent themselves down in the form of their son, with this expressed intended purpose to get tortured and murdered.
Yeah.
Now think about that for a second, that your religion is based off angel rape and unconsensual sex with a teenager, a 13-year-old girl. Because that's how old Mary was when she got inseminated by an angel, which essentially is also God. So God inseminated God's future mother with its own semen to make its own son, which is also himself too, according to the Holy Trinity stuff, just to murder themselves. 33. And you wonder why there's so much violence and anger is that the Bible and their entire religion is a death cult, and it's based on worshiping them murdering their chief deity in a human form, which is, if you took all the names out and didn't call it the Bible and you just wrote it as a fictional mythology, you think, oh my God, this is for kids. And why people take their kids to a church is just to make that family a multi-generational, guilt-ridden deal. Plus, pastors are known for really enjoying kids.
Exactly.
And so, there's the fringe benefit of that. New cash of young boys coming to the Catholic churches, and you wonder, if you look at the business model of these Christian church businesses, and you didn't call them churches anymore, you just said it's just a social club. You would go like country clubs, for example.
Sure.
And you give that much power over a social club like a church, and if you don't do what I say, there's consequences type thing. Nobody would go. Well,
I think, I think in 2023, and I know I'm preaching to the choir once again, they have become less relevant, which is why you see the numbers of churches dropping. But hey, listen, my Barb's current view, current event is going to be a little different. The Orlando Sentinel, I hope I'm saying that right, the big newspaper in Florida, the Orlando Sentinel, they did a scathing op-ed about our favorite governor, Governor DeSantis. And basically, the title of it is DeSantis, Florida's obsession with LGBTQ Floridians keeps hitting new lows. And they basically do an editorial about his obsession with gay, LGBT, trans kids, about how it's dishonest, it's irrational. It's literally like this obsession he has. And I know we've talked about this before, this weird obsession that these people like Bible bigots have. It's starting to get freaky. I mean, I know you and I've talked about this before, but what is this obsession they have? It's like, it's just weird. It's weird.
It's prevalent amongst the entire Republican Party, and it's been this way for a while because they fought like hell to keep marriage equality from happening. They still continue. They're still taking shots at marriage equality. Even with that really questionable federal law that we passed in 2022, that even the ACLU said, there's a lot of loopholes in this thing. The biggest issue is the Republicans' party disdain for LGBT individuals. One, as a community, we're fairly open-minded, but we're also very well-read, and we're used to having to protest. Straight Republicans don't have to worry about Supreme Court rulings banning them, and we've fought to get some sort of equal rights and civil rights to exist in society without getting arrested for who we are. And so, one, you got to talk about a political party that's 90+% white, a very monochromatic political party, not a big tent party, like the Democrat Party. And it's a people that have a very siloed viewpoint, and one of their big points is being anti-LGBT, and it's going to create chuckle fucks like Dick Suckus because one, he's an idiot. He's a fucking idiot. He's just as stupid as Robert and all them. He went to some fancy schools, but obviously he didn't learn anything when he was there. And his wife is a mom's fraternity, theocratic weirdo with bad eyebrows. Clearly, they don't know any gay people because the meatball and her both have terrible grooming skills. Like
I don't think they have friends in general. I mean,
no. Who would want to be friends? At least I will say Trump can be charming. He can be kind of witty when he's not going off some QAnon fueled idiot. But when he's actually acting like a regular person at times, he has a charm and a salesmanship to him. He has a swagger. Whereas DeSantis just looks like a little fat white meatball, white boots. He looks like some Saturday Night Live, but he looks like
it's just
that somebody's playing. Like you just look at him, you go, are the weird expressions he makes?
He looks like he has a miserable. He just looks miserable. He's like,
oh, he is miserable. Plus that wacko that he married, she's and you can
I think she's. Hey, I think that's a perfect segue, Jenny, because I think she's a drag queen. I mean, I think before he can run for president, which is already ready, I think the Republican Party needs to prove to America that she's not a drag. What do you think?
I think but there's most drag queens are like who does her eyebrows like that? Read no self-respecting.
No, you're right. She could be a drag queen because she's got bad makeup. So.
like Groucho Marx from wherever he's at, from Gunn and Valhalla, he's looking down, going, bitch,
we're just still. Hey, that's my look.
It doesn't have the comedic timing or the charm of Groucho Marx.
Exactly.
She's like, but like there's Leonid Brezhnev, one of the former leaders of the Soviet Union that was famous for his thick eyebrows. Going, that's fucking eyebrows. That's like now there's a thing called waxing. And
she's I'm
thinking that she needs like a gas-powered bushwhacker to get a hold of those eyebrows.
But her look is like this. It's this. If you look at like the Bible bigot women and like the moms for liberty women, it's like this. They paint these high eyebrows, which explains their obsession with drag queens because that's more of what an entertainment does. So people can see them from afar. And I have this theory that the reason they're obsessed with drag queens is because they see drag queens as competition.
Yeah.
It's competition.
Well, yeah, because
I don't know. What do you think?
Drag queens are way hotter and more attractive than they are. And when they take their husbands to these drag shows, or they go to, a bridal party or a birthday party or whatever, and they go to these brunches, these morning shows, and you look at a lot of the drag queens and you're like, there's always some really pretty ones. There's some that like, they could be a model somewhere. And there, some hideous looking thing like Casey DeSantis going, much better than I do. They're way cuter. and my husband's always kind of been attracted to men. And there's a problem with DeSantis and Pence that are these closet bisexual and gay men that already have sexuality issues. Most Republicans have issues with sexuality and self-control. When you look at all the pedophile pastors and youth pastors,
every week we get 2 or 3 of them in the newspaper. A pastor, usually a married guy with kids.
There was at least 6 child sexual abuse cases levied on 6 church businesses and or youth camps that they ran. And the 10 years I lived there, at least 6 times there was major scandals, and one that was 10 years old. There was a 10-year-old ongoing problem where he molested hundreds of boys. Predominantly, boys from about 11 to about 16. And you can't tell me that camp, that youth camp, this business that had campuses all over Missouri, that's where it started, in Branson, Missouri, and all over this Christian camp, did not know that the dude was doing this for 10 years. You couldn't have gone 10 years without knowing.
Yeah.
And one of my bones of contention is these are the same people are trying to dictate what's moral and what's not moral and acceptable in society. And drag queens are performers, first and foremost. They're not endorsing sexuality of any kind. They're not trying to teach you anything. They're not even trying to teach you any kind of lesson. You go there, they lips,
they're entertainment.
They do backflips. They wear wild costumes that are colorful, not much different than a circus clown. And they're supposed to be over the top. The whole point of drag, whether it's a Shakespearean play, whether it is, some type of Roman performance, or modern drag that's in gay bars and spaces that are affirming, is it supposed to be over the top? Otherwise, it'd be really boring if a dude just stood around and just lip sync. Nobody.
I know we've gone completely off topic. We're going to take our first break and then go into the CC segment. But I know you and I have talked about this, but I really wish somewhere around the country, and if someone's wherever you are, write your state legislature, wherever state you're in, have one of them propose legislation that says, if we're truly concerned about the safety of kids, then any organization, which would include a church too, it would include a school, it would even include a drag queen, any organization that is convicted of molestation of children has to be closed. So if a drag bar is convicted of molestation of a child, you got to close that drag. If a church is convicted, you've got to close that church. If the school is convicted, you've got to close the school. 40% of Catholic churches should be closed. So my point is, if we're truly concerned about that, that means that these evangelical churches, if there is proof that one of their pastors or youth ministers has done something that's illegal, they, by law, must be closed and they cannot reopen. And that, I think, would show what the true intent of these Moms for Liberty and Bible bigot individuals are. If they're truly concerned about kids, let's say, all right, we'll agree with you. And let's include drag bars too. All right? If a drag bar is convicted of that, that drag bar should be closed. I think everyone would agree with that. And I think that's a legislation that maybe someone...
Well, that way, because... the issue is that there's a certain segment of American businesses, churches, which are a business. They have revenue that they don't pay taxes on for some reason. These Bible camps, these Bible thumper camps that are just indoctrination centers, they're always the ones. Like, I would say 80% of sex abuse and sex abuse materials come from these spaces, and they should be allowed to operate. If you if they were trafficking drugs through that same church, the DEA would seize the building, seize the property.
Exactly.
And then auction off the property. They'd auction off the cars, houses, everything that this business has as an asset. Because that's what drug offenders, mass drug dealers, we've been doing that for decades. Why aren't we doing this with serial?
There's a complete double standard for
and the answer is a political party that tacitly endorses child sexual assault. It's literally a don't ask, don't tell, but with crimes against humanity. And until you attack that problem that way, there is no reason, there's no deterrent that you're seeing, and this applies to the Mormon Church, the SBC, and the Catholic Church that have a long history of sex abuse.
Exactly. Yeah.
Towards minors. And in some cases, in most cases, it's been enabled. It's been covered up.
Yeah, exactly.
And I always use the San Antonio pedophile trials back in the late 90s and early 2000s, where we had hundreds of now grown-ass middle-aged men getting on the stand and talking about the trauma that caused, the hurt that it caused, how it greatly affected Dill. And the settlement was, I think the first settlement against the diocese of Antonio was like $300 or $400 million divided among all these petitioners. And it was justifiable. These churches need to pay a price of money and property.
And they need to be closed down. Just like DeSantis wants to close down drag shows, that they need to be closed down. So I think that's something pretty important. Hey, listen, Jen, that's going to be our first segment. So we're going to go into our second segment, which is when we come back from this next commercial. Winston-Salem's own professional drag entertainer, CC Labrie. I hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly. If not, she'll correct me. When we come back, she will be on talking about our topic and how the drag law. So the war on drag has impacted her and maybe even North Carolina. So we'll be right back with Coffee and Pan Dulce right after this.
Hey y'all, thanks for watching and support local black and brown businesses, including our sponsor, Manolo Bakery. That has some fabulous pastries, food, king steaks, all kinds of specialty cakes, swallows, and much, much more. Some of the best food we eat in Charlotte, North Carolina. Again, Manolo's Bakery, right here in East Charlotte. Thanks for watching.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching our Coffee and Pan Dulce show every week. Don't forget you can watch us visually on our video podcast platforms on Facebook and YouTube, but you can also listen to us on your favorite audio podcast platforms like Apple, Amazon, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and all of the other ones that your favorite, whatever your favorite is. Once again, thank you for watching us on Coffee and Pan Dulce. We'll dance out. All
right, so we are back. Thanks for sticking with us through the Barb's Currents event. And this is a pre-recorded insert. And we have local drag talent, CC, and we're going to get their take on our subject of the day, which is the war on drag queens and the war on Disney and whatever else Governor Dick Suckus thinks of. But welcome, CC. Welcome to the show again. And
thank you. I'm so excited to be back. I even bought this new painting to display. I pulled it out of the closet. I was like, this is my backdrop.
Well, I think it's pretty much happened to all of us. We did get pulled out of the closet at one time or the other. But anyway, we'll get right into the topic because we only have about 10 or 15 minutes to record this. And locally, because you're based in the Winston-Salem area of North Carolina, have you seen much feedback or backlash in your area in the last few months, since this has heated up quite a bit here in North Carolina?
Ironically, I've gotten more people reaching out, asking me about the legislation that's been presented here in North Carolina. And the advantage is I took the time to read the legislation. And unfortunately, and I use the word unfortunately, it's extremely vague. And so people have asked me, we read it and it says they want to classify drag as an adult cabaret. And it is, so that means 18 and up, not in public spaces. So what does that mean for like pride festivals? And it's really targeting, it's very specific. The specificity in it was, it's men who dress as women, women who dress as men, and perform in a prurient manner. I actually had to look up that word, and it means like hypersexual, like they're classifying drag performers as strippers. I have friends who are strippers, and very respectable industry. And they even say, my friends who are adult entertainers say, you all are not adult entertainers, you all as in drag performers. But it's just an opportunity. It's more of a target towards, I believe, trans people. Because what is considered being public and being in a prurient manner? Am I just being dressed in drag because it is the opposite gender and not the gender of my birth? Dressed in, I'm wearing a 50s housewife dress with an apron and I'm walking down Main Street and it's like, oh, I'm aroused. So who is saying that this is prurient? And that's the other vagueness. Like, is it the arresting officer that says, well, I don't think this person with a beard and a Lucille Ball wig is hypersexual. And then if maybe that person does, and I go before a judge, okay, does that person think I'm hypersexual? So it's so vague, and it's so, it's unconstitutional because it violates our First Amendment right, period.
100%. I mean, and I think, in DeSantis down in Florida, they're basing this off the Florida model, the Tennessee model, which, when the judge struck down the Tennessee drag law a couple months ago, the ruling said the law is so vaguely written that it could apply to a lot of people. Mm-hmm. And the judge has the wisdom to realize that this is a tempest in a teapot. This could backfire not only on progressive people that want to celebrate drag and burlesque and the arts, and you could extend this to Shakespeare, and you could extend this to so many different plays. I've actually read some Shakespeare in my lifetime, and there's so many things that you could say, well, that's prurient, because they kissed, and it's a male actor in drag, playing Lady Macbeth or something,
Mrs. Doubtfire, Hairspray.
Yeah. I mean, you can go down the list of, like if a touring Broadway company, brings, Hairspray to Charlotte, does it violate drag laws? Because there is adult content in Hairspray. There is, it talks about sexuality and all this. And so, but we're human beings, We all got here because somebody got it on. So they had some prurient behaviors in their life, and then 9 months later we showed up, and there's 8 billion of us. So there, it's human sexuality. It's not the 1620s. We don't have the Puritans here. We, drowning witches and stuff like that.
Not yet.
Not yet. But I think the intentionality is the vagueness. I do believe that they're targeting the trans communities as well. I think they're trying to end pride festivals. I believe they're trying to divide and conquer a population and make something that's not controversial that we've been doing publicly for 50 plus years. When you're talking about pride, when you're talking about drag, it goes back for centuries, and making something that's just regular old entertainment. It's now on Paramount and CBS TV and just something that people obviously they crave. I mean, RuPaul's model proves that drag is really good top shelf entertainment. People enjoy it. And they want to be the no fun gang, but it sounds like you're getting more support than backlash. If I'm hearing
absolutely. Here in Winston-Salem, my audiences, the audiences at our shows, and I say our because I do a lot of co-hosting with another local performer. Her name's Anna Yacht, A-N-N-A.
I've seen her. She's really good. Yeah.
Anna Yacht, yes, Kristen saw her perform.
That's right. Yeah.
Anna is a phenomenal entertainer. And we host a lot of shows together, and we actually hosted a show last night together. And there was, the crowds, they're at capacity. We've been asked by the venue owner to can we make this 18 and up? And it's like, we can, absolutely, but it's always been 18 and up. We've just never explicitly said 18 and up. And it's interesting and the reason why this happened was Anna and I, we hosted a drag brunch last month in June, and we had Pride Boys protest. And that was the first time that we had gotten Pride Boys to show up. And it was they were hot, I'll admit, but they, the hot ones are always the crazy ones. And it was ironically the news outlets came out and mostly print media, and they weren't even local. They were from like Wilmington and Cape Fear. So they drove hours, and it was about a dozen to wave their flags. And they had signs that said groom dogs, not children. 18 is us, 18 and up gets rid of us. And there was only one person under 18 at the show whose parent reached out and said, can I bring my child? They're trans, and I'm wanting to show them that there's a bigger community out there, and not just, not the people that are in our small town. So really understanding that it's like, we're not grooming anyone. We're showing people that there is an accepting community out there, and there is a bigger world out there. And so from that, we've gotten even more support and more people showing up to our shows and more people supporting drag and understanding that what we do is an art form. What we do is entertainment. It is not a gender identity. It is not a sexual orientation. It is art. And ironically, for a group, and I say group, far right groups that want parents' choice. I should control what my parents read, what my children read and watch. But yet you're saying, oh no, then your kids shouldn't watch this. It's just the hypocrisy, which of course, this is not something new for that group. The hypocrisy is just ridiculous.
Oh yeah, you can cut it with a knife. And I wanted to add too, because I have a lot of interest in the drag community. It's one of the ways that I promote my company, my startup, is we've done different drag shows. In fact, we're doing one at the end of the month. And do you think it's increased business for y'all? Do you think are your shows more packed?
Absolutely. Just even in June, like May, June, July, the fact that we're at capacity and near and like over capacity, where it's people are just, I shouldn't say over capacity, but standing room only for people to watch a drag show or a drag bingo. And at different venues I've performed at, and even that Anna does shows as well, it's people in front of we're packed like sardines in order to see drag and support burlesque and support the community. Because if we don't put our money where our mouth is, essentially, if we just say, oh no, this is wrong, but we're sitting at home watching Drag Race or we're watching Queen of the Universe, but we're not supporting local queens, therein lies the problem. So more people have come out and said, and I tell people, I open every show with this, this is your first time at a drag show? And over at least 40% of the audience, my first time at a drag show, round of applause. Awesome. So let me explain how drag shows work. If you enjoy the queens, if you enjoy the entertainers, feel free to tip them $1. But I said the best tip you can get is applause. And we practice applauding. And I have people come up and say, this is my first time to a show, and it's not what I thought it was. It was so much better. We're not, most of us are not, sexually oriented, dancers and gyrating. I'm too old to gyrate. I'm too old to wear a heel more than 1 inch. So I'm shuttling around in my kitten heels and, singing my songs. There is nothing sexual about that. And I love changing those minds when people come and say, this is, first time at a drag show, I had a great time. I had one woman recently come to a show, and she came up to me and said, I just turned 78, and this is my first time ever to a drag show or a gay bar. And I'm like, well, it's not a gay bar, but I didn't correct her. I just, And she says, I've had the best time ever. She was tipping, and I said, it's your birthday. I said, before you leave, let's sing happy birthday. And I said, may I let people know? And she's, oh, yes, I would love that. And people wanted to buy her shots, and she was Don Julio. And I was like, okay, this is Don Julio.
Exactly. Yeah. Hey, a question real quickly. Jenny, and I know I've asked you this before, Jenny, but I'm curious what you have to say, CC. We may have talked about this a couple of months ago. it almost seems like, as Jenny said, all of these laws that are being passed around the country, they are unconstitutional. We know in our heart and our gut they're unconstitutional. They're just wrong. There's just like this feeling they're wrong. But it almost seems like the far right are these moms for liberty, these real, I call them Bible bigots. They know they're unconstitutional. They just want to pass them to stick it to the gay community, because they lost the equality marriage thing. And that was a huge issue for them, like abortion. So do you think that they have passed these laws just to rough the feathers for a while, knowing they're going to be ruled? It takes years to get to the Supreme Court, And so, I mean, did you have that feeling that we're going to have to deal with this maybe for a couple of years, or what do you think?
Well, being politically active and being on different political action committees and things of that nature, I think it's a twofold thing. I think it is they've moved publicly so far right that it's like a magician. Look at the birdie, and it's misdirection. The Republican Party is turned into an absolute dumpster fire as a political party. I don't even look at them as a political party anymore. It's a group of individuals that seem like attention-seeking children that are play acting, office holders, and all they know to do is campaign. And they said this about Trump in 2017. It was like he never stopped campaigning and patting himself on the back. I think the second thing is that it's a Hail Mary because our country's demographic is changing so fast. We are seeing a baby boom generation that holds power right now, especially over campaign finance and that sort of thing, that has dominated American public, office and political office since Clinton. Clinton was the first of the baby boom presidents. And we've seen this generation have a 30-year lockhold on this with the mentalities that we're going to fight to the bitter end, because this is still the same generation that survived, the civil rights struggles, Vietnam. This is a very aggressive, very hardened, very, very strong generation. And clearly they're going to do it to their swan song. And they're very afraid of the very progressive younger millennials and baby Zs. And they skew very high in some parts of the country. 80% of them are vote, Democratic. And it's a generation that is facing the smoke that we talked about off camera, and they're facing existential crises that are way beyond what, I'm assuming, Cece, you're pretty close to our age, that, I'm a Gen Xer and Christian's a Gen Xer. And
yeah, Cece's 25, so yeah.
Oh, 25 and a half. I can say
that's right.
It's that smoke filter from Canada.
That's right, exactly.
It does wonders for filming, especially, so I got the window, but I'm bringing in that natural smear. And but hey, Jen, because I know we don't have all that time left, but even I know we've talked about this, even within the Republican Party, 52 to 53% of the Republicans don't like these anti-trans, anti-gay bills. And so even within their own party, they don't like this this bullying type of thing. But it seems like the group that's holding on, or that's making up the noise, the Proud Boys, for example, this is their 15 minutes of fame. They like to hang around other guys. That's just what they get. I know. They cut their face and I look. Say, hey, I know you from last night. But I mean, Cece, do you think this is going to be around for a couple of years? Are y'all prepared for that, or how are y'all dealing with it?
Absolutely. We can look at history and look at, marriage equality. How long was that? That was more than a couple of years, that even prior to U.S. Supreme Court granting that. I think with all of these social issues, they'll run their cycle. And I'm glad to see not just young people, but people who historically don't vote because they feel their vote does not count, starting to vote, especially in local elections, because so often they say, oh, I'll only vote in the presidential, or I'll vote in, every 4 years. Local election counts count as well, because in North Carolina, it was a local, for here to Winston, a local senator or House of Representatives who authored the bill, or the anti-drag bill. Yeah, and but the way that the districting is, he's half in Winston, half in the county, so it's not even half.
Gerrymandered.
This much in Winston, this much in the county. So, and he's my representative. And there were people that came to my shows and invited him, that we would love for you to come to the show so you can see what it is. And they asked if I would be willing to speak to him. Absolutely. I show him I'm a white collar professional who also is a drag performer. And I will be more than happy to talk to you about it and clear up any misconceptions. And, never returned our calls. So it will. So to answer your question, yes, it will be around. History has shown that if it's any sooner than, I think 2 years is pretty short, honestly. I think it's going to be around a lot longer in some capacity.
Well, and I want to bring up one last point, and we all remember the 1990s, and towards the end of the 90s, the vice president's wife, Tipper Gore, got really aggressive about music lyrics and how is going to lead to devil worship and all these crazy things. And obviously, we grew up with uncensored lyrics. We never did censor lyrics per se. Mm-hmm. I think they did print them on CD covers and album covers and things like that. But the truth is, this hair on fire, these are hair on fire, made up issues that gay people and trans people and queer performances have been around for millennia, because queer people have all existed. And it's just something, because I think we got a widespread acceptance since the turn of the century. And I also think, too, in modern times, people can use technology, and we can see that drag has come out of the shadows on TV, and people are going, let's see what the hoopla is, it's a much ado about nothing, and there's always going to be proud girls and DeSantis's that go nuts about it, but the irony is, I think it's going to help our community on the long run. I think it's going to, people embrace us, and just like the bathroom bill, it's going to backfire more than they ever expect.
Well, for those who are watching, I apologize. Jenny, you're having technical difficulties, but I can hear you, so it'll come out there, but you sound like the Matrix there for a while, so I apologize, but I hear exactly what you're saying. Hey, we have run out of time, Cece, and I do value your time. Thank you so much for joining us. Any last words, Jenny and Cece?
Support your local drag artists.
Yeah, 100%. Come out to the shows. The art of drag is so much fun. It's a good time. All the performers are good. They're fun. They're quirky, and drag's just about having fun.
Okay.
And I promise they don't bite except on special requests. And but you really, no matter where you live, because we broadcast all over the nation, support your local drag, support your local arts. Because if you ignore it, just like your teeth, if you ignore your teeth, they go away. If we let people control our art forms because they just don't like it because they're big mad at Bud Light, then they dictate what our society has. And we want to keep art around.
Sure.
Just because it's not your cup of tea, get over it. Yeah. I don't like going to churches, but I don't want to burn the churches down. So, let's just all get.
Well, thank you. And thank you so much, Cece, for spending time to talk about this very important topic. We'll take a quick break here, and then up next is going to be the world-famous Sushi from Key West, that she'll be on talking about how if it has impacted the shows down in Key West, and how she's dealing with it as well. So we'll be right back on Coffee Pan Dulce right after this. Hey, I'm Christian Cano. I wanted to thank you so much for watching our Coffee Pan Dulce shows. I also want to thank you so much for watching us on our video podcast, which is on Facebook and YouTube, but also for listening to us on our audio podcast shows on your favorite audio podcast platform like Apple, Spotify, Google, Amazon, Deezer, Podcast Addict, Podcast Chaser, and many more. Once again, thanks for watching us and listening to us on Coffee Pan Dulce. Bye, y'all. Here we go. Well, welcome back. So it was great to have Cece back, and her painting. It was good to see that her painting came out of the closet. So,
yeah, coming out of the closet is always an important thing. You know,
exactly.
You know, whether it's North Carolina or Florida, whatever. A lot of the ground zero for a lot of this crazy thing, I call it a test kitchen for these crazy ideas, is emanating out of Florida, because you're having a very problematic human being that is wanting to run for the Republican nomination for president in 2024 and is getting crazier by the day and saying more problematic things. He's getting so crazy that even Republicans are not wanting to vote for this guy. His numbers of approval ratings are like in single digits. Like the RNC is in trouble because their front runner is going to go to prison. Their second highest one, which is DeSantis, is only polling in about the 5 to 7% range.
Yeah.
So your top two guys running for the RNC are both problematic, and they're both stupid.
Yep.
And not that we're surprised that the Republicans are running a bunch of people that are very stupid, because that happened in 2016 as well. I mean, it was like, Marco Rubio, Cancun Cruz, Trump, and one or two other losers. It's ironic that Trump called veterans and people who served and sacrificed suckers and losers. The whole party, the Republican Party, the whole MAGA movement is a bunch of screwball losers that are going to go out and buy, gold and embossed fake rubber checks and pay hundreds of dollars for.
Listen, you talked about that on your show. Explain to our viewers on this show what you're talking about, because I never heard of this, but you talk about it on your show, which I thought was hilarious.
New scheme. So they it's a money laundering scheme for Trump, just like those NFTs where large donors bought blocks of NFTs that they probably turned around and just deleted. And so they got this new scam going that is these golden embossed commemorative checks, kind of like the golden ticket from Willy Wonka type thing. Except they're not hidden in chocolate bars. They would actually make them more palatable if they put them in some really good Godiva chocolate.
Got the golden ticket, I forgot the song.
And it's much worse than that. The infomercial that's built around this and the website that's built around this is so scammy looking. It's so.
What did you say? Buy now, or what do you do? Sunday, 60% off.
Gun show. We got guns that look like knives. We got knives that look like guns. And now we have a fake presidential candidate running again, bringing the scam back to MAGA. And you've got these fake ass. They're silly looking checks with Trump's image on them. They're just ridiculous. And they imply that these are going to be worth something down the road.
Yeah. And they may, or what is it? They may, some say.
With like about 19 different disclosures, like when a pharmaceutical company advertises a different drug, like may have side effects, diarrhea, bleeding from the ears, and other things. Like, and you're like,
it may cause death.
Symptoms are worse from the side effects are worse from the drug than the actual affliction that it's trying to fix. And the affliction of MAGA and the MAGA virus is they're constantly, it's either Steve Bannon, scamming money for some kind of a delusional wall building project, or now they're just coming out and just fleecing the MAGA supporters, selling these golden checks. They're just ridiculous looking. And I'm going, who in the hell would pay money for this?
Well,
I mean, other than a mass donor laundering money through this website, but there's regular people buying these things. Yeah. And they're the same idiots that give to church businesses too. But like the base model is like $200. And if you buy more, they give you a price break. And they're already saying the original discounted.
Do you get a free My Pillow? Thrown in.
They should throw in a couple of My Pillows, because I heard they got warehouse.
He's selling his
those shitty My Pillows that have the foreign cotton in it. Like America First, right there. and just like the red hats are made in fucking China. I'm like, you do realize how stupid you guys are? That literally, almost everything we have, because we've shut down so many manufacturing plants, comes from foreign countries. Real American First policies, because we don't like those labor unions that we built up in the 40s, 50s, 60s. The Democrats helped build. Because we hate to make more money and have benefits in retirement. We can't be having that. We can't have people having dignity.
Hey, listen, Jen, we're up against our last break, and hopefully when we come back from this break, we'll actually have the world famous Sushi on. Otherwise, she will not be on the show, so we'll find out here. But if you like what you're hearing from Jenny, her show does drop 30 minutes after this every Wednesday at 11:30. It's called Two Queers in a Truck, and we'll be right back after the commercial about her show, right after this. Hi, I'm Christian Cano. Thank you so much for joining us on Coffee Pan Dulce, and also thank you so much for watching us on Facebook and on YouTube. But also don't forget, you can actually listen to us on your favorite audio podcast platform like Apple, Spotify, Google, Amazon, Deezer, Podcast Addict, Podcast Chaser, and others. Once again, thank you for so much for watching us and listening to us on Coffee Pan Dulce. Have a great day. Well, welcome back, everyone, and thank you so much for watching the first couple of segments. Now we have the world-famous Sushi, Key West. And before we start the conversation, do you want me to address you as Empress, as Diva, as Sushi? What term do you go by?
I'm old school. I don't care what you call me. Just be nice.
Okay.
But Sushi's fine. Everybody knows me as Sushi.
Okay. Excellent. All right. Well, listen, thank you so much for spending time. As we had mentioned before the show, today's topic is Florida's war on drag and Disney. And I just want to put things a little into context here, because we taped this a week before. And prior to taping this, which was Wednesday, I guess that would be the 19th, the federal judge in Florida that ruled on the Hamburger Mary's case that made the law in Florida unconstitutional basically said, no, this goes to all of Florida, because the state attorneys were trying to get it just for the Hamburger Mary, and because it's a skating report. So I just want to let people know kind of where we are at this moment. But Jenny, I'm going to bring you into the conversation because I know you have some questions to ask Sushi.
Yeah, they're along the lines of what I asked. I just went blank. The drag performer.
do that all
Cece. It happens a lot. The older you get, don't let this face fool you. It's a lot older than it looks. But the biggest thing is, how has it impacted your business locally? As far as, are you seeing more patrons? Are you seeing less patrons? Kind of, what was the economic impact of these changes?
Well, most of the people that come to Key West aren't that politically, savvy or whatever, so they don't know exactly what's going on. They have no clue. A couple, our clientele range between 30 and 60, and they're usually from the Midwest or overseas, or so they're not as clued in as what's going on. But we in our shows we talk about it and stuff like that. They're like, oh my God, really? So it really hasn't impacted us that much. I know that we were all scared after it passed. We were all really afraid what was going to happen. We weren't sure if we could stand on the street and promote our shows. But then the city of Key West, I was at the city town hall meeting about 3 weeks ago, and they passed an ordinance that said we love the drag queens in Key West, and they've been part of our society in Key West, and we want to make sure that Key West is a safe space for gay, lesbian, trans community. And they passed the ordinance. All the city, what do you call those? Representatives
like
or whatever.
Commissioners,
like all the commissioners passed it 7-0. So I was really happy about that. And that was before the judge ruled on the Hamburger Mary case. So I was proud of Key West. I was proud of our mayor and our commissioners to stand up to Florida law and said, screw you, we love our drag queens in Key West. So I was happy about that. And after that happened, I talked to the police chief, and he was like, we have we're not going to do anything about what happened in Florida, because Key West isn't really Florida. So I talked to the mayor and the city and the police chief, and they said, don't worry about it, Sushi, you'll be fine, And the drag queens were scared to take pictures with little kids because their parents would say, oh, can you have a picture with my little child? And a lot of drag queens were like, we can't do that right now. I said, yes, go ahead and do it. Promote the fact that people are okay with their children with drag queens. So I got on the bandwagon and say, screw DeSantis, and let's do what we have always done. Promote love,
Yeah. And so my and the public overwhelmingly supported drag as an art form in San Antonio, Texas. And even law enforcement protected the bars and venues that were having various shows. And so I think it goes to show you that, one, a lot of this is much ado about nothing. These social wars over drag queens and trans kids, made up boogeyman stories that I would much rather have my kids. Yeah. They're now adults, but they used to be. But I would rather have my kids around drag queens than pastors any day of the week.
Exactly.
And I mean, because drag performers and trans people, we don't have any influence or power in society. We're the others. We're the outliers in society as far as the societal hierarchy. And I go, really, to be able to groom kids, you've got to be an authority figure like a policeman, a coach, a pastor. Yeah. And lo and behold, every time you see somebody on Twitter showing another confirmed pedophile, it's always one of those, like 99% of the time. And so I think it's ridiculous to use our status as a minority.
And you know what I hate is that when it is a pedophile and they're molesting a little kid, they think that pedophile is gay. They're not gay. They're pedophiles, you know?
Yeah.
They think, oh, that's a gay pastor, and that's why he's attacking little kids. No, it's not because he's gay. It's because he's sick in the head, you know? Yeah. And
exactly.
I think,
it's one of the violent crime.
Yeah. One of the things that I, especially in media and stuff like that, I remember when the Silence of the Lambs came out, and, it was like, he's a drag queen cutting up women to make a woman bodysuit. And I'm like, no, he's not a drag queen. He might be, crazy in the head. Don't you think? Yeah. So one year I dressed up to Silence the Lambs with a little bodysuit.
Yeah. Have y'all been, and I'm just curious because I haven't read about it. Have y'all been protested at all? Have you been
Yes,
approached?
we raised money to send 4 of the drag queens up to Tallahassee, Florida, from Key West to go on the march. I think it was last month. So yeah, we've been fighting the fight. You know, trying to put our best heel forward. Yeah, we sent 4 drag queens up there. The community raised enough money. We did a GoFundMe thing, and it was great.
Mm-hmm.
And they went up there. They represented Key West. Unfortunately, I was in North Carolina at the time, but you know,
you were up here.
So I do want to, hey Jen, I do want to jump in real quickly because it shows you what a small world we live in. You know, we have a place up in the mountains in North Carolina, and I was around the pool at the place, and there were two individuals that live in Winston-Salem, and they were talking about this fundraiser they attended, and this lady Sushi was there, and of course, you know, I heard the word sushi, and they said, yeah, and they came in from Key West. I said, and I was like, what? They said, yeah, they do it every year. It's a big fundraiser, and I was like, what a small world. So thank you for what you do. Right? So
yeah,
so anyway,
I was up there.
Yeah. So sorry to throw that in there. So I'm sorry, Jed. Go ahead. Continue with your questions.
I love that.
Well, yeah, it really is a small world. In fact, I'm broadcasting from Charlotte, North Carolina. That's where I'm based out of, and so is Christian, except for when he's on these undisclosed locations, as he currently is right now. And but it's at the drag community,
undisclosed.
You know, we have a lot of fabulous artists in the LGBT community that perform drag and burlesque and many of the other art forms. Stage forms. Have you seen, like, if are more people, especially locals, are they coming to the shows maybe more to support drag performance? Are you seeing any outcry from the
we you know
people that come? You know, I don't know if you get much.
You're frozen up again. I opened the cabaret 27 years ago, and we've been doing shows 7 days a week for the last 27 years. So,
oh no, okay.
And yeah. I know that every time a local has somebody from out of town, they always come and bring their aunts or uncles or grandparents or, you know, nieces, nephews to the show. So we've always had a great local following, and local's always free. So that's a plus. But yeah, we've had great
that's
local
awesome.
support, always.
So what's considered a local? More than 50 days?
Well, that's a debate here.
I'm joking.
That's a big debate in the U.S. I think we consider local after 2 years. You have to survive the U.S. for 2 years. And then there's a big debate about if you live here permanently or if you're a snowbird. And there's another thing where you have to be here for 10 years to be considered a freshwater conch. You get this little passport that they give out. But yeah, it's a huge controversy. I mean, people that have been born here say, no, you're not a local unless you've been born here. I'm like, oh my God, girl. I'm a local and I'm proud of it.
Well, I do want to say, because like I said, we do value your time, and I appreciate you coming on here. I do want to say that while we're in this undisclosed location, and I say undisclosed only because when we come out here, this is paradise for us, as probably everyone who comes down to Key West. We've been coming out here since 2003, but we've been staying longer over the last 4 years. And when I do my research, so when the IRS is watching this, I do research, and it's all write-offs. Yeah. When I do my research and I look at the crowd that attend your shows, they are very diverse. I mean, just last night there was a group. There was groups from Ireland. There was groups from Panama City, Florida. There were groups from Kentucky, from West Virginia. All political spectrums. I mean, everyone feels welcome and invited, and everyone just has a good time. So
that's what we always try to promote, you know. And I tell my drag queens, I said, don't bring up politics. They're not there to hear about politics, or, you know, just show them that you're a real person and you care about people. And it doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or a Republican, straight, gay, trans, bi, whatever. we're all in this world together. Make sure that they understand that, because if sometimes we have wives that bring their husbands and they say, the husbands are like, no, I don't want to go. And they finally force them upstairs. And it's the wives that have to drag them out of the drag show because they're having such a great time. And that's how we change people's minds, with love, laughter, affection, not hate. Any kind of hate is awful. So as long as you can convince that asshole that you're a real person, and if you make them laugh, if you make them smile, if you bring them a little joy in their life, they will, next time they start being an asshole, they'll understand, oh, yeah, no, that's a real person. So I've always told all my drag queens, don't preach. Do not preach to people. Just show them who you are, and they'll love you. And I think it's worked for the last 27 years. So I'm very proud of that.
Is there anybody any message you'd like to give to people that haven't ever gone to a drag show, but would love to, but maybe have a little bit of fear or hesitancy because of the 2023 pushback against drag? Was there anything you'd like to?
Well, basically what I just said. Don't be scared. We don't bite. I mean, like I just said, the wives want to take their husbands, and the husbands want to go, but then they finally go. And they have a great time, and just don't worry about it. It's not. We're not condemning any people or, doing anything raunchy or nasty. That's the back room, darling.
Sure.
That's the leather room.
You have to pay extra. Most of the places I've been to, you always have to pay double. So but I'll start that. But it's a beautiful art form, and drag is millennia old. I mean, there's been some form of drag in the arts, Shakespeare days. Like this is nothing new. This art form. That's
in the Shakespeare days. That's how two lesbian professors wrote a book about me, 801 Drag Queens at 801 Cabaret, and they researched where the name drag queens came from, and it was from Shakespeare. When men used to be on stage, their dresses would drag behind them. So they usually would play some sort of queen or something like that. So that's where the term drag queen came from Shakespeare, with men's dresses dragging behind them. So
where is this an educational show?
It was considered immoral for women to be actors, and so. Every actor up on the stage in his day, whether it was Juliet or Romeo, so when they kissed, it was two dudes kissing. But one of them was in drag and in makeup and and looking like Juliet. But and you're talking about late 1400s, early 1500s when this was happening, and many societies, Japan. Many other cultures have had some form of drag.
Well, actually, it was the 16th and 17th century, but
Well, my dates are a little fuzzy. I'm not even drinking yet, but you're talking about hundreds of years ago, way before the internet and the Google machine, and
I think every society has had drag.
Yeah, it's human nature. It's human nature to cosplay. It's human nature to entertain.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Miss Sushi, I want to thank you so much for your time. It's been very educational, and I do want to just say one last thing. Are you still dropping from the shoe?
No, actually.
Okay.
After 25 years, I decided not to do it anymore. I thought a quarter of a century was enough. 25 years in the shoe was enough. I had my time. It was great. I'll always remember those moments. But I wasn't having any fun in the shoe anymore. And I thought, this is, I love making the outfits, but, I'd rather pass it on to somebody else. But I will be back in 25 years. In 25 years for the 50th shoe drop. I'll be 80 years old. I'll be back.
Wonderful, wonderful. So those who watch and listen to us, Miss Sushi is world famous for dropping from the shoe on New Year's Eve, and you're one of Anderson Cooper's favorite things to cover. My understanding is so. Jenny, any last words before we close out, Jen? This segment.
No, we appreciate you promoting the art form of drag, and we as the show really would have wished you all the best, and keep fighting the fight and keeping drag alive, and keeping an understanding of the LGBT culture alive. Yeah, and it's a beautiful art form, and we're glad to see that you have next generations of performers, and it's just a beautiful thing. Yeah, absolutely. And we're very proud of you, and keep fighting.
Well, nice to meet you, darling.
Nice to meet you.
And where are you from?
Get back down there.
North Carolina area? Charlotte.
I live in Charlotte presently, but I've lived all over, and I grew up in Texas.
She's a fellow Texan. Yeah, she's a fellow Texan, like almost all of us. We all live in Charlotte, North Carolina, but almost all of us do. But almost all of us are from Texas. Well, Miss Sushi, thank you so much. And for those who want to go down to Key West, once, of course, it's paradise. There are nonstop flights here from Charlotte, from everywhere, from Dallas, Fort Worth. Now the airport has expanded. From all over. And go to the 801, is it 801?
The 801 Cabaret or 801 Bourbon Bar.
801 Bourbon Bar.
Tickets on 801girls.com, 7 days a week at 9 o'clock and 11 o'clock.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, once again, thank you so much, and we'll be right back on Coffee and Pan Dulce right after this.
Up next is Two Queers in a Truck with Jenny and Christian, and hope you guys tune in. We'll see you in about 15 to 20 minutes. Thank you. Bye.
Welcome back, everyone, and don't forget to join Jenny on her show. Comes on every Wednesday at 11:30. She's got some great topics today, by the way, because we tape it for this one, so I kind of know what's on the show already. So, Jenny, this Florida's war on drag and Disney, which it makes no sense. It's the Florida Orlando newspaper, and I'm sure all the newspapers, the major newspapers in Florida, have been writing editorials about how silly this is for him attacking. For them going after the major employer, for them going after drag shows, comparing them to, like CC said, like in North Carolina, they're comparing them to like adult entertainment, which if you've ever been to a drag show, they're entertainment. So I mean, what? I don't understand how they think that's going to be appealing to anyone other than a very small amount of Bible bigots and Moms for Liberty people. The vast majority, and we talked about when we were talking to Cece, 52 or 53% of Republicans polled say they don't like the bullying of trans kids and attacking of the LGBT community. They're 60% now of Republicans are comfortable with equality in marriage and they want us to move on. You know what I mean? So I don't understand how they plan to.
You have one half of the MAGA movement. The extremists, they appeal to the lowest common denominator of really stupid Christian nationalists, Bible bigots. These church businesses that don't pay taxes, they funnel money through PACs that fund idiots like Trump and DeSantis. And the issue is a couple things. One of the reasons they target a company like Disney is Disney's always been an equal opportunity employer. They've always supported the LGBT community. They have different events like Gay Days in June, and they've always been a welcoming and affirming employer. They're also a threat monetarily. Like the company's a massive company. It's a Fortune 100 company of entertainment and is legendary. They also employ 75,000 people in the state of Florida. It's the largest private employer in a state that's built around tourism. And it's like you're basically eating your own face off when you're the governor of a state that is their entire economy, especially since Disney, built Disney World and the Disney parks and entertainment studios. They're in Florida. Florida was a backwards, jerkwater, bigoted.
Yeah, I mean,
idiots
wanted to
state.
live in Central Florida?
No, nobody
Really?
does. Nobody,
It's hot.
nobody really wanted to live in Florida.
Mosquitoes. Exactly.
Maybe in southern Florida, you have your retirement communities like Palm Beach and places like that. Fort Lauderdale, is half of them are former New Yorkers that moved down there either during winter time or they live there full time. And other than that, most of Florida was a swampy wasteland, and is still a wasteland outside of Orlando. And if when you're looking at the impact of Disney Corp and the impact of economics and job creation and stuff like this, they literally created something out of nothing. And Florida, he's always been indebted to them. And DeSantis, being the true fascist idiot that he is, feels threatened by that. Feels threatened by that mutual benefit of having Disney as a great corporate partner and a great responsible corporation. And he wants to have the complete and total say. So we're seeing a snapshot of what this guy is as a chief executive. And he's just a small, stupid little meatball. And it's the same reason why you would punch down on a minority like the LGBT community or the Black community or the Latinx community, is you punch down towards a ethnic or racial or religious minority and or a sexual identity minority like the LGBT community. It's because one, because you're a bigot and a coward. Two, you think you will get some sort of street credit with more bigots in your own political organ, and think, oh, he's taking a tough stance.
And that's not how you win national races. You can't win a national race by only appealing to those few people. I don't understand how he thinks suddenly. What
he is doing is exactly what states like North Carolina, that has a red legislature but has a blue chief executive, is because we elect Governor Cooper twice to keep us from suffering anymore because of bigotry and sponsored terrorism with the trans community with that stupid bathroom bill they passed in 2016 damaged North Carolina economic community and the business community, which could be no further from what we define as Americans as freedom to start a business, freedom to be an entrepreneur in this country. I mean, damaging Disney damages all the local businesses too.
It makes it's ridiculous.
Disney was in the middle of a massive expansion, about $7 billion worth of expansion. It was going to create even more jobs in Central Florida, and they pulled it out, and they said nope, other states. And reason being is they're like, well, if this governor's going to keep waging war with us, we're not going to spend money in this economy.
The free market. Hey, Jenny. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Finish your thought there. You have a finished thought? Because I do want to just, we've kind of run out of time, but I do want to talk real quickly. I forgot to go very quickly. I know I said I would do this, but I think it is kind of funny. We're going to go into the Pendejo Chronicles. And this is the Pendejo Chronicles. Okay, so here's the Pendejo Chronicles. The one who wins this one is George Santos. George Santos, the congressperson from drag queen congressperson from the state of New York. During his last FEC filings for the second quarter, I think raised $130,000, which is really, really low for a sitting congressperson. In comparison to Boebert raised about $700,000, and hers was low too. So out of $130,000, and he paid himself back that alleged $700,000 that he loaned his campaign, which is why he's under investigation. I think he's 90. I'm sure how that's working. He paid himself back $80,000 of it. But more importantly, of the money that he's raised, only 4 people donated to him in his district. All the other people are tied to the Chinese billionaire. So it's like he not only does he not have any shame, but surely he knows that people are scrutinizing his everything he does, and he doesn't have any. I mean, think about that, Jenny. More than half of the money he raised from those people went to him.
Well, you know, one of the best things about being in Congress, whether you're a senator or House of Representative, it's one of the best money-making schemes you can ever do.
Yep.
It's not just the Republicans, the Democrats as well.
Yeah.
If you serve in Congress, you'll become a millionaire. If you aren't a millionaire already, people serve that long period of time, mysteriously come in from a $170,000 a year job, and they're in Congress only a few years, all of a sudden have a net worth of $3 or $4 or $5 million. You're going,
yeah, that's true.
You saved every penny from every paycheck that they ever got in Congress.
Yeah.
It somehow, within a short order, everybody in Congress ends up being millionaires. And so you got to wonder.
Somehow their spouse is just good at investments.
Yeah, like I would have hired those spouses. You know,
Exactly.
Hey, how in the hell did you do? And so, here's the thing. Yeah, business and making money and wealth accumulation is about who you are. And part of me says, hey, get it while you can. There's a part of me, as long as it doesn't come at the expense of tax dollars and doesn't affect me, honestly don't care that they make more money. You know, you dedicated your life to doing this.
Yeah.
You know, as somebody that's run for office multiple, how disruptive it is versus just having a regular job like being a general manager of a hotel is a lot easier, probably than it is running for office. Running for office is a passion project as well as a career move, but it's not easy. You just don't stand there, give a couple speeches, and you just waltz into that office, even if it's something like a mate. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of trouble. And you set yourself up for being a target. You know, you're going to have people say things about you personally that are cruel, that are vicious. You know, you've experienced that. And that's even if you run the cleanest of campaigns, the most deal. The press doesn't pull any punches, and then if you're a lowlife like DeSantis or Santos, I wouldn't call him DeSantis. They're kind of the same. You know,
Santos and DeSantis. I think they're both dragons. Yeah.
Oh, I think DeSantis is just. I think he's
just.
Santos is too. You know, you see some people and they just look creepy. You just know you wouldn't want to be alone with them in a room.
Yeah.
Both of those guys are kind of the same guy. They're both like, you could end up sitting in an ice bath with your kidneys missing with these guys. Like they're Buffalo Bill creepy. I'll tell you, I'd rather be alone in a room with Trump than those other two guys. Yeah. You know, even though I don't really want to smell Trump's diaper smell, or as Bob Woodward says, the odor barrier does not work in Trump's diapers.
Hey, listen, we've gone way over. I want to thank you, Jenny, and hopefully we'll be able to sometime before we actually drop the show get Sushi on here, even if we have to kind of taper. But we did have CC, so thank you, CC, for joining us. talk about this. So, Jenny, in 30 seconds or less, where are you going to be after this drops? I know you have your event in Charlotte, but I don't know if that's before or after this.
On July 29th, which will be 3 days after this airs. And tickets are on sale. So if you look at my social media and links, you'll clearly be able to say it. My company's name is Blue Applied Tech. It's a technology company, and the proceeds are going to our innovation fund to help lift LGBT people and other minorities out of poverty by doing job training and so much else. It's a long-term passion project I've had. And it's something that I believe you can't have equality without providing equity. And, the biggest part of the civil rights movement, I believe, that never saw fruition in this country has been economic equity, whether it's with reparations, whether it's creating a non-red line class system and allow people to have access to things that specifically only white, straight, conservative people have access. And there is a difference. So we definitely, the ultimate goal of my company, one, is to make money, but the second thing is to be able to give back specifically to our community and create pathways of prosperity.
Excellent. Well, I wish I was in town to go that. I will still be in an undisclosed location, and I'm sure I'll be seeing you here in a couple of weeks. And I know you and I are going to have an event for the Pride weekend. So, listen, we do want to thank everyone for joining us today on our Coffee and Pan Dulce show, and we will see you next week on Coffee and Pan Dulce, when we actually will be talking about the Free Cuba movement 3 years later. We'll have some Floridians on who are Cuban Americans who will be talking about that as well. And so, once again, we do want to thank you for watching us on Coffee and Pan Dulce, and we'll see you next week. We'll dance out. Let's see if we can get this going here. How's that, Jen? All right. Bye, y'all. Bye-bye.
Hey, y'all, thanks for watching Coffee and Pan Dulce. And just as a PSA, be safe out there. Watch the warning signs of heat stroke. You're going to overdo it. If you're in a part of the country that record-setting temperatures, and truly mean that, is it can be dangerous and deadly. So be safe out there, drink lots of water, and stay indoors as much as possible. Have a great week.
Bye, y'all.
Next up, thanks for watching Coffee and Pan Dulce. Next up is Two Queers in a Truck. Stay tuned.
So this next little segment is actually going to be something that Jenny and I did around Cinco de Mayo. I actually went into the streets here at this undisclosed location to talk to everyday people on how they feel about Florida's war on dragging Disney. So that's what this next segment is.
listen, we're in Key West, Florida, and have you ever been to a drag show before? Do you have any feelings about the governor of Florida trying to pass a law to ban drag shows?
I think the drag is
It doesn't really matter, short or long. I've tried all the trends.
Just give me your name and spell it. Hey man, are you one of the...
Shake it, fringe it, give it a fade. It don't matter, I got it made. I go about my day without any stresses. At night I let down my debonair tresses. Damn good hair, damn good hair. Damn good hair, damn good hair. It could be genetics or vitamin B. I swear I only shampoo 3 times a week. No more. No, no, no. Go ahead and look, just don't touch me. Sisters and bros. Damn good hair, damn good hair. 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 Don't blame me for this, even though it's unfair. 'Cause I got locks for days, I got damn good hair. They flip it, curl it, give it a wave. Whatever they do, it always behaves. I got body and shine, they all want what's mine. Sometimes it's hard to be this fine. Let's not stop, let's take it to the limit. Just like you, I'm in it to win it. Damn good hair, damn good hair. Damn good hair, damn good hair. It doesn't really matter, short or long. I've tried all the trends, my lane's extra strong. When I sit down in the styling chair, don't touch. Even though you want to, me not so much. You can take a picture, but I won't pose. Everybody wants me, sisters and bros. Damn good hair, damn good hair.
Coffee and Pan Dulce. How's that? Coffee and Pan Dulce.
Sounds
You
great.
sounded like a telenova. I mean,
I'm trying to. All I have to say is go. Yes.
as a non-Spanish speaker.
Okay, can you? Yeah, okay. And then what we're going to do is when you hear the music, Jen, if you'll start the show.
Why would you do the music where we already started the show? Christian, don't play the music. It would make sense.
Okay.
Don't play the music
All right,
in the
hold on.
middle of the show.
Okay, hold on.
We need to come back like we had a break, because at the end of the Barb's current events we always do a break. So we need to come back like we're right.
That makes sense. Okay.
That's why you
Now we know where the brains is behind this
Yes,
show.
yes. Well, we
can't wait for that
really admitted that
Yeah.
every week. Okay, go ahead, Jen.
Scared. Seen this before. This is not. They're trying to get people riled up about stuff that is policy.
Hey, Jen, hold on a second. You froze. I'm gonna have to edit that out. So you froze when you said the truth is. So let's start that again.
Okay.
Ta-da! All right. Hold on a second. Let me start recording. Perfect time because I think I'm freezing here, y'all. If I lose y'all, we're good.
Excellent. Well, as always, thank you. I really.
Okay.
and then we're gonna act like we came back from our second break.
Yeah. Okay.
Jenny, tell me when you're ready.
I am ready.
And I'm actually outside, and then this thunderstorm started coming through, so I was like, oh my gosh. So, okay, here we go. Yeah, here we go. All right.
San Antonio, Texas, and
Hey, Jen,
they
Jen,
had
Jen,
a lot of
hey,
protests there.
Hey, Jen.
Yeah.
Jen, you froze.
I'm here.
Let's start that. Yeah. Let's start that question again. Okay. I'm going to put you
Okay.
on. I'm going to turn mine off, and then go ahead.
Okay. You know,